When you think Vermont, you think bucolic, you think picturesque, wholesome, healthy, and it is all those things, but it's also got one of the worst heroin problems in the country.
I returned to Vermont almost 2 years after my first visit to see if the heroin problem has gotten any better. John Merrigan of Vermont State Police Drug Task Force was optimistic when we first met.
Why not go after the higher level?
Yeah, we're gonna get them all. We're gonna get them all.
By the summer of 2015, it was a different story.
I really thought that we had a chance of getting on top of it, and now I see that's gonna be a bigger struggle. We never thought we'd see the amounts that are coming into Vermont in raw form. 5 years ago, if somebody had 1,000 bags of heroin, that would have been an awful lot of heroin. Now, if somebody has a kilo of raw, unpackaged heroin, that's a lot of heroin, and that's a big change in 2 years.
But there's been some progress. As promised, the governor has increased funding for drug treatment programs. Wait times for treatment are shorter, but there are still hundreds in line. Across the country, there's been a change in the discussion about drugs, far different from the one President Nixon began 40 years ago.
America's public enemy #1 is drug abuse.
Thank you.
Even President Obama recently acknowledged the need for a radical shift.
Rather than spending billions of dollars on long prison sentences for nonviolent drug offenders, we could save money and get better outcomes by getting treatment to those who need it.
It's still too early to know if this change in approach and tone will reduce the demand for drugs. The people at the other end of the heroin trail are skeptical.
Si hoy por hoy se siembra amapola u otro tipo de cultivo es por una necesidad, pero aparte de una necesidad es porque hay un consumo.
Desde que haya consumidores hay droga. Por ejemplo, yo me voy hoy y veo la oportunidad de plata, por plata yo lo vuelvo a hacer.
You would do it.
Ese trabajo se vuelve una adicción para uno.
There are now nearly 1 million people hooked on heroin in the U.S. When I first met Justin in the winter of 2014, I wasn't sure he'd pull through.
Nice.
But when I caught up with him this summer, he was healthy enough to play catch.
So how have you been?
I feel like $1 million.
What's the difference between this summer and last summer when we saw you?
I'd say last year I was healthy. You know, I was feeling good, but I still had a lot of steps to go through. I think I'm just back to me long before I even had a first drink or anything.
I feel like I have a second chance. My boy at the river, he just walked up to me and he gave me a big hug and he said, "I'm so happy you're back, Daddy." I'm excited to spend time with him. It's really all that matters.
All right, let's do it.
Around each other.
Justin's recovery has also been good for his siblings, who've had their own battles with addiction. Today, they're all in recovery.
So guys, it's just amazing for me because 2 years ago, we sat at this table having some really hard conversations. And people did not look as good, I gotta say, I gotta be honest, as they do now. So how far have you come?
Oh my goodness, I mean, it's just totally different.
Everybody really is pretty independent, but they're also reaching for their dreams, which I didn't think was possible.
I just got back from Colombia where we met people who are actually growing the poppy. I showed them your photos, I showed them the video. They had never seen anything like that. Do you blame them?
No, not at all.
Well, nobody's to blame. I mean, we're all make our own choices. Yeah. It boils down to if all those people had decent paying jobs, nobody would get involved in half of it in the first place. Yeah. You know.
Today, the Bemis family is a success story.
Yep. And the great part about the success is we've always said, if you can beat this, you can accomplish anything in your life. It's a continuous battle, but to see the siblings together is what's fun.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah.
It's such a good mood.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Recovery is a relentless cycle, just like this country's 40-year war on drugs. The flow of heroin into the U.S. won't be slowing down anytime soon. But at this end of the heroin trail, The Beamises are the lucky ones.